Right guys, another day and we are back for some more Championship transfer rumours. Loads to talk through in today's video. Some really juicy news to talk over in terms of the managerial merry-go-round, and of course plenty more transfer rumours to sink our teeth into as well. Drop a comment down below if you've seen any other rumours that we don't mention in today's video, and make sure to go back to previous videos as well to check in on any rumours that we've discussed previously. But without any further ado, let's jump in. There's only one place to start out, and that's with Plymouth Argyle. As of recording, looking more than likely that Wayne Rooney will become their next manager. It's yet to be confirmed, but if all the stars align, it does look more than likely that this will be happening. And Plymouth fans, I'd love to get your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. I have to admit, and I think I'm with a lot of people here, after how last season went for Rooney at Birmingham, just not sold on this appointment whatsoever. Plymouth took quite a big gamble last season when they appointed Ian Foster. Didn't go to plan whatsoever, and I thought coming into this summer they might have gone a little bit more safe perhaps with their next appointment, but I mean, this one feels like a massive gamble with Rooney, doesn't it? Now, don't get me wrong, there is some upside to this one. Rooney will have contacts in the game, and clearly Plymouth want to have a bit of a project with, you know, a young and upcoming manager that Rooney is, someone who can grow and maybe evolve with the club. But I've just got a feeling that, I mean, regardless whoever came into that Plymouth job for next season, I think they always had quite a tricky job on their hands. Based on the underlying numbers last season, Plymouth's XG differential between the XG they accumulated and the XG they faced last season, they were actually a bottom three side going off the underlying numbers. They survived on the last day of the season, obviously beating Hull, avoided the drop by 1 point in the end. Bringing in a manager like Rooney on the back of the Blues job, DC United didn't pull up many trees either, and I still maintain that he did a good job at Derby on the whole, but how much of that was Liam Rosenior? Rooney won 2 of his 15 games in charge of Birmingham last season, and looking at those statistics, it does make for a massive worry for Plymouth going into next season. Bit more managerial news as well. Norwich City have reportedly held talks with Will Still over becoming their next manager. Norwich seemingly in talks with quite a few managers right now. Pascal Janssen, another boss that I've seen linked with the Norwich job of late, but Will Still would be a really intriguing appointment, something that I'd definitely be on board with from a Norwich point of view. For quite some time, has been linked with a Championship job. Going back to last season, was heavily linked with the Sunderland role at one stage. Obviously, Sunderland themselves still looking for a new manager, but yeah, that would be the sort of managerial appointment I'd definitely be on board with from a Norwich point of view. But that's your latest managerial news. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into the transfer rumours. And our first bit of transfer news for today does involve Norwich City, and it's Gabriel Sara being linked with a move to Crystal Palace. Rumour, another side who I have seen interested in the Brazilian playmaker. Now, with Norwich remaining in the Championship for next season, I think Canaries fans understand that it will be very difficult to keep hold of the 24-year-old next season. Coming off the back of an outstanding season in the Championship, 13 goals, 12 assists, one of the best creative outlets in the EFL in general, and a player who definitely has Premier League pedigree about him. From a personal standpoint, I'd say Sara probably was one of the best players I saw come to Deepdale last season. Scored an absolutely brilliant goal against us, and yeah, definitely has that Premier League class about him. He is under contract at Norwich until the summer of 2026, and so the Canaries do have a decent amount of bargaining power here, and I'd imagine the transfer fee would have to be around 20 million maybe for Norwich to be tempted to sell. I think he's that good. Money certainly talks though, and it'll be interesting to see how much a side like Palace would be prepared to pay. And Norwich fans, what would be your asking price for a player like Sara? Had an interesting transfer line recently emerge about Joel Matip being linked with a move to both Southampton and Bournemouth. Now, this transfer rumour would be dependent on Southampton being promoted back to the Premier League tomorrow when they face Leeds United. But Matip, his tenure at Liverpool has now come to an end, coming off the back of a big injury. Obviously not got that much of a chance to feature this season because of that, but seemingly prepared to stay in England, and the likes of Southampton and Bournemouth ready to throw their hat in the ring for the experienced defender. Certainly more than good enough to still cut it at the top level, provided that he does recover from this injury and there's no sort of setbacks within that or anything like that. But one to keep your eye on maybe over these next few weeks and months. He is available on a free transfer. Fresh off his playoff final heroics, Josh Murphy is being linked with plenty of Championship clubs right now. He is out of contract this summer. Obviously, Oxford United desperate to keep him on board for next season in the Championship. But we've seen the likes of Stoke City, Blackburn Rovers and Derby County being linked with the winger, obviously. He was the player who made the difference in the playoff final against Bolton, two really well-taken goals. Good performer for Oxford throughout the regular season as well. 8 goals and 4 assists for the 29-year-old, and being available on a free transfer, you can see why there'd be a bit of interest in him. Now, Murphy is someone who I think probably does have a point to prove coming back up to the Championship. His last stint in the Championship didn't really go to plan. Obviously, he had that big money move to Cardiff, which, let's face it, just didn't work out. Wasn't a great stylistic fit into the way that Cardiff played, but really underwhelmed during a loan spell with my team, Preston North End, as well. Don't get me wrong, was never really afforded that many chances at North End, but was ultimately sent back to Cardiff early because of attitude and punctuality problems that were reported at the time. In terms of natural ability, more than good enough for the Championship, Murphy. Just a question of if he does have his head screwed on, and whether or not he's got that real point to prove, because if he does, could be a really good asset for someone next season. Southampton are said to be among the clubs who are interested in Aberdeen forward Bojan Miovski. He's coming off the back of an excellent season in Scotland where he scored 26 goals across all competitions. Have seen a reported fee of around about 6 million that it may take to go ahead and sign him. He's under contract with Aberdeen until the summer of 2026, so the Scottish club has a decent amount of bargaining power when deciding his price tag. Along with Southampton, a number of other clubs are reportedly interested. He's definitely someone to keep your eye on over these next few weeks and months. Tottenham are said to be interested in Middlesbrough defender Rav van den Berg, the 19-year-old coming off the back of a really consistent season for Michael Carrick's side. 33 starts this season, and I'd definitely argue he was among Middlesbrough's most consistent performers throughout the season. Good option at the back, mostly plays as a centre-half, but can also do a job at right-back as well. At 19, you'd imagine Middlesbrough would be looking for quite a big chunk of change if they were going to cash in at this point. They would certainly flip a large profit on him based on the season he's just had, but with Premier League clubs now sniffing around, he'll be an interesting one to keep your eye on as well. Plenty of Championship interest in Brighton midfielder Mark Leonard right now, and understandably so. You've got the likes of Oxford, Plymouth, Cardiff and Preston who are all reportedly sniffing around the 22-year-old now. He's coming off the back of an exceptional loan spell in League One with Northampton. Really good midfielder who's strong at pretty much every aspect of the game. 5 goals, 6 assists this season, also averages 2.5 tackles per game as well. Definitely the sort of player that I could see being a good asset to any of those sides interested. Now, in recent months, there had been quite a bit of Championship interest in Wigan goalkeeper Sam Tickle. I'd seen the likes of Preston, Birmingham and Sunderland all reportedly sniffing around, but he's recently penned a new contract extension with Wigan Athletics, so for the time being at least, doesn't appear as if he'll be on the move anytime soon. Greg Doherty is among the players who will be leaving Hull City on a free transfer at the end of the season, and Blackburn Rovers have since been interested in the midfielder. Popular figure, I think it's fair to say, within the Hull City fan base during his tenure at the club. Didn't play that much this season, the majority of his minutes coming from the bench. Blackburn, the latest club I've seen interested in the Scottish midfielder, but wouldn't be surprised if a few other sides were to throw their hat in the ring as well. Blackburn Rovers have been linked with a move for John Ruddy. Birmingham have offered him a new contract, but with Ruddy potentially having a move back to the Championship on the table, he might be tempted to make the move to Ewood Park. It's an interesting one. Obviously, patching up defensive positions in the goalkeeping area is quite crucial for Blackburn this season, given how many goals they conceded last time around. Ruddy, someone who does bring a wealth of experience. Are his best days behind him? Maybe. Was a bit of an inconsistent year, I think, all things considered, for the experienced shot stopper. Based on his post-shot expected goals, he did concede 2.9 more goals than he should have last season, based on his saving metrics. Blues clearly still value him, though, by offering offering that new contract and looking to keep him around in League One. 37 years old now, will be interesting to see where he ends up. Looks as if Sam McCallum has agreed a deal to join Stoke City. I think this is a really good pickup from the Potters, especially on a free transfer. Was a little bit surprised, to be honest, when Norwich announced that they would be releasing him on a free transfer. Still 23 years old and with a lot of attributes that can be moulded into making McCallum into a really top fullback. Yeah, definitely a deal that I'm impressed with there from Stoke. Mikael Miller being linked with a move to quite a few Championship clubs right now, with the likes of Preston, Portsmouth and Oxford all said to be interested in the Plymouth wingback. He is out of contract this summer. Featured in 34 games for Plymouth in the season just gone by. A bulk of those games did come from the bench, it is worth saying. No doubt North End are going to be looking to strengthen our options at wing-back this summer. Whether someone like Miller would come in as a regular starter, though, I'm not so sure. Leeds United have resurfaced their interest in Celtic midfielder Matt O'Reilly, but they're not alone. A lot of other clubs will be interested in the Danish star. The likes of West Ham, Newcastle and Atletico Madrid have also been interested in recent weeks. Coming off the back of a really outstanding season for Celtic, he's got 18 goals and 13 assists in the league alone. I've got a few glimpses of Celtic this season whenever watching the Old Firm and things like that, and O'Reilly is always the player who stands out to me in a Celtic shirt. Obviously the Leeds' interest in him will be dependent on whether or not they get promoted back to the Premier League. Someone like O'Reilly won't be making the move to the Championship anytime soon. Quite crucially, it is being reported that Celtic would demand in excess of 30 million for their prized assets, so he certainly won't go cheap this summer either. But guys, there you have it. That will wrap it up for today's video. There are some of the latest transfer rumours that I have seen going around the Championship. Any others that we didn't mention in today's video, make sure to get them in the comments down below. Other than that though guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.